US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has begun his 9th visit to the Middle East since the war began to push a new plan for a ceasefire in Gaza, even as Israel carries out more airstrikes. The Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry says at least 17 Palestinians, most from the same family, were killed in an attack near the central city of Deir al-Balah. The US remains optimistic about achieving a ceasefire, but Hamas, which carried out the October 7th terror attacks, has said any signs of progress are an illusion and accuses Israel of negotiating in bad faith.
It's a sight that has become, sadly, all too familiar for the people of Gaza. Another set of bodies carried away in bags as mourners watch on helplessly. An overnight Israeli airstrike killed a mother, father, and their 6 children as they slept. Through tears, the grandfather of the dead children tried to make sense of the sudden, massive loss of so many of those that he loved.
My daughter, her husband and their 6 children were safe on al-Masra street in the al-Balah area when a missile struck them, completely destroying the apartment. The mother died and all 6 children perished. The whole family, the oldest child was 15 and the youngest a year and a half. What was their crime?
10 months into this devastating war, Gaza is teetering on the brink. Food is still scarce, the health system is on its knees, and the UN says 9 out of 10 people are now internally displaced, some many times over. Nonetheless, the White House has said they are optimistic a ceasefire can be reached between Israel and Hamas, though Hamas has called that optimism an illusion. And even if a deal can be reached, for many people here in Gaza, it's already far too late.
Israeli negotiators have expressed cautious optimism about reaching a ceasefire deal, but Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accuses Hamas of dragging its feet.
Hamas remains obstinate. It hasn't even sent a representative to the talks in Doha. Therefore, the pressure should be directed at Hamas and its leader Sinwar, not at the Israeli government.
Let's cross now to Jerusalem, where we're joined by DW Correspondent Felix Tamsut. Great to see you, Felix. So, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, as we've seen, has arrived in Israel. It's his 9th visit to the region since the war began in October. So is he hoping that his in-person meetings will help get a ceasefire and hostage deal?
Absolutely. That's the biggest hope among the mediators in general, not only when it comes to Secretary of State, the US Secretary of State visiting here in Israel. There's this general sense of cautious optimism. At the same time, it needs to be said that Antony Blinken's visit to the region has another context, I would say, to the extent that over the negotiation, there's the issue of Iran and Hezbollah waiting to retaliate on the killings of Fuad Shukra, the Hezbollah chief, and Ismail Haniyeh, the Hamas chief, killed in Tehran. And basically, this is basically the whole issue of their retaliation looms over the negotiations. I think the mediators also have the issue in mind that should a ceasefire be reached, an all-out war in the region could be prevented. That's why they're hoping to reach a deal by the end of this week.
Now, Felix, while these talks are taking place, the war in Gaza continues. We're still seeing many civilian deaths. Doesn't that weaken Israel's position in negotiations?
When it comes to Israel itself, the feeling is that it doesn't hurt the negotiation, quite the opposite. Israel sees its military operations as part of its whole operation of securing the return of the hostages and dismantling Hamas. It needs to be said that Hamas's positions have barely changed, if at all, during the Israeli operation in Gaza. So it seems like both sides don't see the ongoing operation in Gaza as a big deal. Obviously, Hamas wants the Israeli forces out of Gaza as part of its conditions of reaching a ceasefire deal. This is one of the biggest hurdles of reaching such a deal, and it remains to be seen whether the negotiators will be able to overcome this big hurdle.
Thanks, Felix. DW correspondent Felix Tamsut in Jerusalem for us.